We're back again with another John's Junk. Today I'm going to try to make a rocket stove. Never made one before. I know roughly how they're made. I'm going to try to make one. What I have here is a can, a large can. I think I found that out in the woods a long time ago and I've been using it for, I don't know, lots of stuff. I have another can. It's a little bit smaller than the other can. And it came, that stuff was in it. I have another can, little bitty can. This little bitty can had tomato paste in it. I cut the ends, both ends out of this. This can still has his, hello, still has his bottom. This can, still has his bottom and a bad funk to it too. Now only tools I'm going to use are a hole saw. Now you can do this without a hole saw. All you need is really a razor blade or any kind of drill bit and 10 snips, or you can use pliers and just rip it on out of there. You don't need anything complicated. There's nothing wrong with you if you don't have a hole saw. You just don't have a hole saw. I got a hole saw. I can't drill holes and hold the camera with one hand. I don't feel like getting my tripod, so I'm going to drill some holes. 2 of them actually. And that's really all it's going to take. And then I'm going to see if it works. Well, that is one hole made. That hole only needs to be as big as that, and it fits. There's complicated measuring devices you can use. There's tutorials on how to do that. I'm not going to bother. But I put it that far from the bottom. That's closer to the bottom than I wanted, but it'll do. The leaves falling out of the trees and falling onto a mat of previously fallen leaves make such a peaceful sound. I've drilled the second hole, made a lot of grinding metal noises, which is not so peaceful, and I've drilled it about that far from the bottom. Probably should be wearing gloves, locking stuff in vices. Oh, and one thing I did do, there's a seam in the can there. I drilled on the opposite side of that seam because you don't want to try to, the drill bit will dig into that seam, it'll yank it right out of your hands. Yanked it right out of my hands anyway, but whatever. Take it slow, about 10-15 seconds to knock that hole. Not a big deal. Listen to this. Other than the prop job flying over and a neighbor getting a new roof, it's a peaceful sound. I like it. Anyway, onward. I went and snagged some aluminum foil to make this next step easier on me, and I'm filling it up just with playground sand that I had laying around from another project. And no, it wasn't a playground. It was another Bernie project that I did long before I started filming stuff. It doesn't really matter, as far as I know, what you use to fill this thing up. Just using it to insulate. You can use dirt. You can use previously burnt wood, charcoal, ash, whatever. The idea is just to insulate. Vermiculite is popular as it's lightweight, and I think it behaves like a cement and will hold its shape. So you can kick this thing around a little bit. You fill this thing up with sand, you kick it around, you're going to get sand everywhere. But this isn't going much of anywhere but my backyard. So I'm just going to fill this up with this sand, and that'll be fine. Alright, well there she is. Didn't bother trying to pull the foil out. Kind of put a tiny bit of effort into tamping the sand down. It'll get hot and settle. Now, what I'm going to run it off of is these huge pine trees in my yard. And they dump a bunch of pine needles on my deck, basically year round. So I'm going to stuff this thing's craw with pine needles. And you could use a lot of different things, little sticks, whatever you want. One of the favorite things when I was in the Boy Scouts to start a fire with was dryer lint. You can use dryer lint. You can even use belly button lint. The startup fumes are going to be appalling. This is for tiny sticks. I'm going to go ahead and light this thing, see how it does. And that should go through there and up through there. You really want this on a kind of a downward, like that. I messed up and did not do that, so we'll see what happens, right? Now once the flames come out the top, there we go, I'm going to start feeding it sticks. Sticks about yay big. Don't want to overdo it. This may not stay started, I don't know. Everything's wet. But the pine needles being dry should mitigate that somewhat. I'm going to bore you with the details on this bit. Well, it's going. Had to make a field mod. Does it count as a field mod if I'm in my own backyard? Took another can and cut about that much out of it and had to do some trimming to make it fit, and I just used a pair of these that I had laying around. So now it's got a dedicated air chamber to suck air in here, and fuel only goes in here. And I'm just feeding little bitty sticks into it. And so far, seems to be doing pretty good for burning green and wet fuel. So now I just got to figure out how to get something over it so I can cook on it. I made another expeditious field repair. Made these wings with slots cut in them, because what was happening is when I pushed the stick in, like Zoe is pushing my little baffle further and further into the firebox and putting the fire out. So now with no pushy, and my fire's still going. Right now I'm using it to warm up my Dutch oven, because that's what I'm going to cook my dinner on for tonight and for lunch for the next week or so. Getting kind of warm in there. I think I'm going to throw a chunk of wood in there and really get this sucker hot. See what happens. Ouch! It puts out some heat. But that's how to make a junky rocket stove with junk I had laying around. Maybe you got junk laying around in your place, you can make the same thing. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.